All right, so chapter 4B, lesson 1. You guys have seen problems with parentheses before. If you can think back when we had a number right next to a parenthesis like this. That's weird. Sorry, I'm trying to get this to write. Trying out things. When we have a number right next to a parenthesis, if you can remember back, that tells us that we're going to multiply. What do we do when we see a parenthesis with a number next to it? We multiply. I see an equal sign, so I'm going to split. And then I'm going to say, oh boy, I have a number with a parenthesis. I am going to distribute this number. 3 times x is 3x. And 3 times positive 5 is 15. Now we have a two-step. This is something you've already done. So I'm taking two things that you've already done in your past and putting them into one equation. You've already distributed, but you didn't distribute in an equation. And now that we have an equation, you've already done two-step equations by taking the inverse. We're going to do the inverse of what's outside of the box. 3x equals 30. And now x and 3 are being multiplied, and the inverse of multiply is divide. We end up with x equals 10. I want to check that because this is something new, and I always want to make sure that I'm getting them correct. And with a check, when you hand them in, you can know right then if it's correct or not. So I'm going to copy 3 parentheses. Instead of x, I'm going to write 10. And we're going to see if that indeed does equal 45. You can type this right into your calculator, or you can just know that 10 plus 5 is 15. And 3 times 15, when you type that into your calculator, does give you 45. So I get 45 on both sides. You do have to show that the two sides are the same, and I'm correct. Number 2, example 2. This time we have a negative on the outside. It's okay. I have an equal sign with a variable, so I'm going to split. And I see that I have a number right next to a parenthesis, so I will distribute. Negative 5 times n is negative 5n. And be careful here, I have a negative 5 times a negative 2, which is a positive 10. I'm going to put my variable in a box, get rid of, take the inverse of what's outside of the box. So this is old stuff. This is what you've already taken a test on. Negative 5n equals negative 40. Again, you can use your calculator to calculate that. And the opposite of multiplying is dividing. Negative divided by a negative is a positive 8. Example 3, I see a variable with an equal sign. I'm going to split, and I'm going to distribute 4/5 times 5. It's okay to go ahead and use your calculator for that. You have a calculator that does fractions. You should end up with 4h. And be careful here, we have 4/5 times, that's a negative 20. So this is going to be minus 16. Once we get to our two-step, I like to put a box around the variable so I can do the inverse of what's left. 4h equals 40. And when I divide by 4, I end up with h equals 10. You can always pause and scroll back and listen to it again if it didn't make much sense to you. That's the beauty of a recording. The perimeter of the square is 480 inches. Each side is represented by x plus 6. First thing we're going to do is find the value of x, and the second thing we're going to do is find the length of the side of the square. I've drawn a square there for you so that you can do some labeling. Each side is represented by x plus 6. So I'm going to label each side x plus 6. Think back to what perimeter means. You have Mrs. Ranke, I think she says she's putting up a fence, putting it around. I always tell kids just add the sides. Now, because all the sides are the same, instead of doing x plus 6 plus x plus 6 plus x plus 6 plus x plus 6, I'm going to use this new idea of taking one side, and since they're all the same, multiplying that whole set times 4. And when I do that, when I add up all the sides, it tells me I should get 480. Now I have a variable with an equal sign. I'm going to split and distribute. Having a hard time writing. 4x plus 24 equals 480. Box around the variable. Deal with what's outside of the box. Do the inverse. You might want your calculator here. 4x equals 456. I'm going to divide both sides by 4 to get x equals 1. 4 goes into 114. So that answers part A. The value of x is 114. Part B says, find the length of the side of the square. Well, each side is x plus 6. So I'm going to plug in 114 for x, and that means each side is 120. We can check that. What's 120 times 4? You can type that into your calculator if you want. It's 480. That's what they told us it was, so it worked. Okay, let's go to the back of that page where we have some word problems. If you're in Mrs. Ranke's class, you're going to, or Mr. Krinkovich, you're going to probably just follow the steps. The let statement, write your equation, solve and label. Same with my class, Mrs. Alvani, except we've talked about using this process of cubs. So whatever process works for you is really just the one you should use. We are going to read it once and circle the important numbers. Jamal and 2 cousins received the same amount of money to go to a movie. I'm going to circle 2 because even though it's written as a word, it is a number. Each boy spent $15. Afterward, the boys had $30 altogether. Write and solve an equation to find the amount of money each boy received. So I've circled all my important numbers. Now I'm going to underline the question, which is usually after the words find, how many, or how much. Here's my let statement. That underlining becomes my let statement. And I'm going to choose x. Let x equal amount of money, each boy received. There's my let statement. Okay. So now I've underlined and wrote my let statement. I'm going to put a box around any important math words, the mathy math words that tell us to add, subtract, multiply, or divide. Jamal and his 2 cousins received the same amount of money to go to a movie. Each boy, each means to multiply, spent $15. What does the word spent tell us that we're going to do? Subtract. And afterward, the boys had $30 altogether. So as a total altogether, they had $30. Now let's see if we can put that into an equation. Each boy spent $15. So each boy received X dollars and spent 15. How many boys were there? There were 3. Kind of a trick because I circled the number 2, but it's Jamal and his 2 cousins. So instead of doing x minus 15 for one, x minus 15 for the next, x minus 15 for the next, I'm going to multiply that whole set by 3. And at the end of all that subtracting and all that spending, they're going to have $30. Okay, so I have a variable and an equal sign. I'm going to split. I need to distribute 3x minus, you can use your calculator if you need to, 45 equals 30. Box up my x, take the inverse of what's outside of the box. 3x equals 75. And the inverse of multiply is divide. That means that each kid received $25. That looks weird, but it's okay. Each boy, I'll spell received right this time, received $25. That's your answer. Awesome. The next one, you can pause it and try on your own or just follow along. David bought 3 bags of balloons for a party. He used 8 balloons from each bag. Write and solve an equation to find how many balloons were originally in each bag if there were 21 balloons left. So remember, I'm going to do cubs. I just circled the numbers. I'm going to underline. Why does it keep doing that? I don't know. Just want to change the color. Underline the question. Remember, it's usually next to the words find, how many, or how much. So there's my let statement. You can use B, but I don't like B because it looks like a 6. I'm going to use X. Let X equal how many balloons in each bag. And then I'm going to say, all right, so I started with X balloons in each bag, and I used 8 balloons, and that happened how many times? 3. And after I did that, I got 21. And now we're just going to split, distribute, box up the variable, take the inverse. Again, you can use your calculator to calculate. And x equals 15. So the answer is each bag started with 15 balloons. All right, that's lesson 1. You're going to do the homework that goes along with it.